Gema Esteban. I am ESG advisor of IG4 Capital.
Emma, thank you for joining me. Your main role at the moment is helping organisations meet their ESG goals. Thinking about the environmental piece of that, how much of it is linked to using new technologies like IoT, artificial intelligence, and so on? And is that changing?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me set up the stage for this and talk about a little bit about the context, because environment is a very broad issue. And let me talk about a couple of things. One that is on the newspapers every day, which is climate, and another one which is water. So talking about climate, we need to think about the goal on the 1.5 degrees scenario of Paris and what we all need to do, no matter if we're companies or countries, of being carbon neutral for 2050, which is the goal that we all have, okay? So reducing the greenhouse gas emissions footprint of energy value chains is at the heart of success or failure in tackling the climate change. So we need to further accelerate the global deployment of technologies that have the high potential to decarbonize the energy. Let me give you one figure, Matt. The consumption and production of energy is representing around 2/3 of GHG emissions globally. So there are key areas of opportunities, which is, for example, speeding up the technologies that are helping us to lower carbon energy with renewables, for example, or solutions for increased energy efficiency and energy conservation, especially in major use sectors such as industry, buildings, transportation, which must be adopted widely. This is something where, for example, technologies such as IoT or artificial intelligence are playing a huge role in. No? Second thing, let me talk a little bit about water also. As we have said, there are a lot of different topics about environment, like biodiversity or many others. But let me talk about water. Water is a scarce resource. Only 2.5 of all the water of our planet constitute fresh water. Approximately 70% of this available fresh water is frozen in glaciers and the ice caps, and the residual one, which is 0.75%, is used by the living organism. So we have a huge challenge with managing water. And for example, when you talk about water companies, one of the key challenges there is, for example, leakages on the pumps and on the infrastructure. And let me share with you a technology example, which is of a startup company in Brazil, which is using AI to really understand through sound how to really have a leak or understand or detect a leak on the pumps using AI. So there are a lot of possibilities and things that we can do with technology for tackling and managing the challenges that we have in front of us, talking about the environment.
Good stuff. And what about the attitudes of companies? Do you find that meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and being more environmentally friendly is enough of a driver for organisations to start adopting some of these new technologies and meeting these specific goals?
Sure, I think that that is a must. No, there is a huge push that I would say that is coming also from consumers, but which are rapidly, and especially younger generations, Gen Z, millennials, changing their attitudes toward their consumption habits, but also coming from investors. there are a lot of requests of how you are delivering and how your plans and your goals are really focusing on the SDGs. But I would say that from a company perspective, you need to have a business case behind that. So it's not only that we need all to manage and to fulfill the SDGs and the goals that and the responsibility that we have on the planet, but it's also that you need to have, from a company perspective, a business case behind, no matter if it is generating growth because you're a technology company that are enabling, for example, IoT or AI technologies, such as this company, or you are going to be more efficient because you are going to save money if you are not spending so much money on energy or, as we said, or saving leakages on your water infrastructure. No?
Sounds good. And you gave us that example of the water leakages. Another example of companies that are deploying new technology to make some environmental benefits?
Sure. One of the companies that we invest in is IG4. It's a water company in Brazil. It's based in 18 countries around Brazil with 6 million customers, and it is absolutely focused on tackling the water problem, especially in Brazil. Not only the universalization of water, so that everyone can have access to fresh water, but it's also how to manage that and how to operationally and manage the infrastructure. So I think that, and we are in that company using advanced technology, which is allowing a more precise and efficient customer water consumption measure, which means, for example, reduce loss from no billing water, which will also help us to perform the measurement of the meters fast, saving times and saving OPEX, for example. Other operational advantage is, for example, to measure meters that are not accessible to our personnel responsible for the billing. No, sometimes meters are located inside the house area, in the garden, in garages, even inside the houses, and using smart meters allows you to measure them by walking by method, right? Another important advantage is the remote suspension of the water supply, which is a huge challenge for this industry. Some of these smart meters have a device that allows you to suspend the water supply to customers that are behind the water bill. These remote valves also reduce OPEX and save time, right? And on the other hand, using virtual payment channels linked to our system give the customer the possibility to pay the bills before they have the water supply suspended. Yeah. There are also, of course, the impact on environment is huge. There are environmental gains on this. No, for example, we can save paper from the water billing invoice that is allowed by this smart metering infrastructure. We can reduce carbon emission from the reduction of the personal transportation. So less people do the job, less transport, and especially, and what it is more important, reduce the water waste. Smart meters allow you an online measurement system, which are going to be used at IG4. Customer to warn them in case of leakage inside their houses, or allow them to suspend the water supply when they're traveling, for example. No, but it's not only when you talk about ESG and sustainability, the most known and the most talked issue is the environment one, right? But it's also, I think that we need to talk also, especially during this pandemic and the impact of the pandemic on the people, is the social impact of this. For example, using technology and using IoT, one of the social benefits that we can achieve is to, for example, study the possibility to offer the water company's customers a prepaid bill model aiming to help low-income families to manage their water bill. In this case, they can pay, for example, only the amount of water that they consume, and they can kind of adapt their payment to their incomes. No, so I think that there are a lot of possibilities to really use, which are real, because technology is in place and you can use that to really fulfill the goals of efficiency and even revenue growth. No?
Good stuff. And finally, we've talked about some technologies that have a very positive impact on environmental goals. What about others that might not quite have the positive impact? Any thoughts on those? Anything that springs to mind that might not be doing quite such a good job in helping the planet?
Well, I think, Matt, that is not a question of technology. I think that technology is here, and it is even the renewable energy that in the past were more expensive than the regular one. It is being cheaper because it is being more used, and there's a push, this big push to replace the old infrastructure with more, let's say, green infrastructure and green energy. So I won't say that it is a question of technology. It is a question of implementing the technology, no? Of the companies to really set up the business case, which is something very, very important, and to really understand that this is a change that they need to tackle. They need to really put in place the technologies that maybe are going to pay off in a medium or longer term, not a short-term thing. It's not a quarter by quarter thing. You need to invest and then have a payback afterwards, but it's worthy, and you need to do that. No? So I think that is more a question of processes, of the implementation of technology, rather than technology itself. I think technology is very much ready.
Excellent stuff. Gema Esteban, thank you very much.